What else?
So, come on up.
I just wanted to reiterate a little bit about the video on, one thing that always sticks out to me is how important it is, and he said it, is to guard your heart. What scripture is that? Anybody know? This is my scripture. Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart. And that is very important. You know, I could go through all this stuff and get you prepared for first aid and wilderness survival. But if your heart isn't right and you're not ready spiritually, none of this is going to do you any good.
Right.
You know, so guard your hearts. That's very important to me. That's one of my pet peeves is I try to guard my heart, and sometimes that's hard to do. You gotta really, what he said, discern. You know, don't let things into your house that are gonna screw with your mind. So, but anyway, first aid. How many in here is taking CPR? Ah, a lot. Good. Yeah, it's been a while. Anybody taking any wilderness survival classes? All right, love it. Pretty interesting wilderness survival. You know, because if things go sideways, you know, like Colleen and I on the way down here, we're like, are we prepared? We're about as prepared as you can be, you know. But I would say the majority of the people in this country are not prepared for what could possibly happen. Hopefully the good Lord will come back and we won't have to worry about it. But, you know, this here, I know one thing, Mike Glenn, I really liked Mike's talk on herbs. I'm really not, my wife is into that more than me. That, it interested to me, but for me to go out and do and look for herbs, that's just not something I want to do. But you got to learn how to cook. We talked about canning, we talked about herbs, we talked about all that. And how do you prepare that food if there is a power outage? Your electric stove won't work. Now your gas stove will work. Propane, you can learn, this is a stove that you run on a little propane bottle, you can hook up a 20-pounder propane bottle to it. I have 2 of those. Have a grill, you know, and water bottles. This here is a professional. This is an EMT bag that we acquired through our scout troop. And then this is the first responder. First, you know, when it comes to first aid, typical example, I'll give you a scenario. My leg. 2 years ago in January, we had a series of steps that went up to a balcony, and we wanted to take them steps out so we could expand our bathroom. So Walt there is, we burned most of the steps off with the flame going this way, out toward the door and the concrete and everything. The last couple things we had to cut, he cut going. And up above was our fuel line for our furnace. And it had one of them little hospital pans. Below it had just a little smidgen of oil in it.
Oh boy.
That caught fire, and I said to Walt, give me something to suffocate it. Well, he got something for me, and I pulled it over to where I could reach it. And when I went around to get it, I hit it with my elbow. And it went down on the ladder, and it was on fire, and it caught I had fire retardant coveralls on and pants, but they're only good for about 30 seconds. We couldn't get it out. So my leg, I got 3rd-degree burns from here to here. And the first aid we did was, we have a pretty good first aid kit there in the township building. And it had, the gauze with
The
the wet gauze, yeah. And I wrapped it. You know, the Lord, this is how the Lord works. It never hurt. It never really hurt that I mean, really bad. It was uncomfortable, but it never really hurt. But we wrapped that. And then when we got to the Grove City Hospital, they were able to take that off. They looked at it and they said, oh, that's a little serious. So you need to go to the burn unit in Pittsburgh. So I went to the burn unit in Pittsburgh, and then they did a skin graft on it. But when I come down off the ladder, Walt wrapped it, but by then my coveralls and pants were burnt off, and my leg was burnt. But the first aid, first thing we did, I sat down, and Walt went over to the first aid kit and got those wet gauzes and put it on my leg. And then we wrapped it loosely. We didn't wrap it real tight, we wrapped it loosely around to hold them on there. So, but that happened so quick, you know, and some of the other things I've run into in first aid is when we've been backpacking, we've had a guy get altitude sickness. What causes altitude sickness? What's the first thing you need to do?
Drink water.
Hydrate. Exactly. They're not getting enough water. And what's one thing you can add to the water that'll boost it?
Electrolytes.
Honey. We carry honey with us. You heat it up, a little, the water up a little bit and put the honey in. That's another, you know, when you're out, it can, within the 30 minutes, you'll start feeling the effects. And within a couple hours, you'll be back to normal. But, first aid, when it comes to first aid, there are so many aspects to first aid, it's unreal. Now, you got all the gauzes, this is an EMT, this is your, I just bought this one for the van we have, to carry in the van. And I think every household should have at least something like this. They don't need a real big one. And then you can either, you know, your little, I went and got some Band-Aids. But you know what really works well with that? Right here. New Skin. That'll fix almost anything. I use that a lot on little cuts and abrasions. I carry that when I'm backpacking.
Is that like the nail polish?
It's like an invisible.
Band-Aid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an invisible bandage. Right.
Glue.
Yeah, like.
You need to
Yeah,
put
it's
an
like
antiseptic
liquid Band-Aid.
on before you do that.
No. The wound ought to be cleaned, yes. I take that back, yes. The wound should be cleaned. Now, whether you just clean it with water or an antiseptic, you know, usually when I'm out backpacking, I might have some antiseptic wipes with me. Usually, I might have one or two. I think in my little first aid kit, I do have a couple antiseptic wipes. And, but most of the time, when I get something, I don't even, you know. So, this kid here, when I saw this, I had a guy go through this because our pack had a leader that was a doctor of physical therapy. I didn't even know what most of this stuff was.
Is that my
This is, Bill Kirker probably has seen something like that. That is, and there's more stuff inside, but I take this when we go ditch camping, just in case we need it. First aid, if it's serious, if you can get to a hospital, who knows? Or contact somebody that you know that might be a nurse or something, but your basic first aid, cuts and bruises, say somebody breaks their arm. This here is part of a walking stick, and this is the rest of it. This can be used as a splint. You can put these together, and you can use it as a splint if you get a broken leg. Carry your gauze with you. You got that brown, or not,
Tape.
the tape and the, I can never remember what it
Ace
is.
bandage.
Ace.
Ace bandage, that's what I was thinking of. Always have a roll of Ace bandage with you in your first aid kit. First aid can be pretty simple, sometimes it can be pretty complicated. But it's important to know, I saw a lot of people had CPR. We're planning on doing one at the township with a couple guys, with our county convention. All the supervisors in the county, we're gonna try and put together a CPR class, because I'm the emergency management coordinator for our township, and I've been through about 155 hours of training. And that's if a disaster happens, I'm supposed to be the man in charge in our township, I guess. Hopefully, that'll never happen, but we do have a train track that goes through the middle of our township, so something could happen. Like the other day, that storm, we had 16 trees down, and wires on a couple of them. But fortunately, we've never really had a whole lot of problems with first aid in our scouts. We teach that. We teach the basics, how to splint. And you can get, little short pieces of wood. If you're out hiking or in the woods, stick. Put a couple sticks on it. You can make a travois, I guess is what you call it. 2 long poles, and put somebody on it. Carry them. We teach the kids to make them. And that's pretty much it on first aid. Everybody, if you've taken CPR, you've taken first aid. You've taken basic first aid. How to deal with cuts and bruises, broken legs, broken arms. What was it the other day? Somebody had a concussion that I knew. It was pretty serious. They had to go to the hospital. And, that if you're out backpacking and somebody would fall, we used to do a lot of rappelling and rock climbing. We never had any problems, we never had anybody fall or anything like that, but, if that would happen, you always wear a hard hat when you're doing all that. And safety is a big issue. Safety is very, very important. You're trying to do this here, that's not safety. That there was an accident happened on a dairy farm. It was stupidity. I wasn't paying attention. I should have shut the machine off instead of letting it run. But you learn from your mistakes. Not to put your hands in moving parts.
Yeah.
So, any questions? Anything you would like to talk about or go over? Yes.
How much is the red kit there?
I have no idea what they paid for that.
$279, I just looked it up.
Wow.
What's that?
$300.
$279, I looked it up.
Oh, you did?
How long
There's
is all
cheaper,
that?
there's cheaper ones, but that one was about $279.
Is that the kind of thing that you would recommend to, where there are 50 or more people in groups,
I would say this,
like the church?
yes. If you have a big group, something like this, you know, or your, this is a emergency responder, first responder kit.
What did it have in it, Cory?
Yeah, what's in there?
It's got your gauze. It had this emergency blanket. This, I've seen some advertised, this is very important to have when you're traveling something in your van or your vehicle, or even at home. You know, if your power goes out. I didn't bring any of my sleeping bags, I just looked the other day, I got 5 sleeping bags. But that was in here. It's got, well, this is a water, I think this was, I stuck that in there. This is a medical kit, ultralight, watertight. This is waterproof, water can't get in here. You got your gauze. Here's your ace bandage. Here's this tape, scissors, triangular bandage. This is multi-trauma compress. It's got, I think it would have everything you need in it.
So no water or antiseptic?
If I dug deep enough, probably. There's no water in it,
No
no.
water.
If you don't have access to antiseptic and water, one of the things that, resident service is, if you compress a wound.
You got alcohol wipes.
Force it to bleed, it'll help flush it out, if you don't have access.
There's-
Corey, hold on just a
Yeah,
second.
he's talking.
Could you, he was saying something. Could you repeat that? It was hard to hear.
Something I learned first aid in the Marines is if you don't have access to the antiseptic, the wipes and the water, is if you compress a injury or a wound from both sides, force it to bleed, the blood will flush it out
Right.
until you can get to an aid station or a hospital.
Mhm.
And once you